I consider home to be the place where I put my things. At this moment, all my things are at 536 Leavenworth Street, 3 floors up from the ground level, where every day I face something that doesn't quite soothe the soul. I'm talking about someone yelling to himself, a leftover syringe, a pile of human shit, or the process of said pile. Something that begs all your senses to recoil with confusion, something that kicks your emotions in the gut. One morning after leaving my home, I turned the corner on O'Farrell and started my commute to work. Merely 1 block down, and I was met with the crusted white layers of a man's bare feet that led up to his stained army pants. He was on all fours in the middle of the sidewalk. As I watched, I caught a glimpse of the metal tool he was using to slowly scrape between the cracks in the cement. The concentration on his face revealed a wisdom, an artistry, something learned in his searching. I imagined him as a painter with a brush, or a surgeon with a scalpel. I imagined us each at our separate poles, digging and moving inward towards one another, somehow transcending borders and reaching each other in the middle. But I looked at him from feet away, as I would look at him from my 3rd floor home on Leavenworth Street. I simply stepped around him, looked back only once, and continued on to work.
He was holding his shoulder as he walked towards me, a bit of gray in his yellow dreadlocks. The wrinkles underneath his eyes were fat and full of rolls like a walrus. His voice had the whiny drawl of a seasoned junkie. "You're not going to believe this," he said, "but a man tried to kill himself on the top floor of a building. He jumped and fell on my back. My shoulder's killing me, man." And he always approached when I was mid-sentence. His intrusion gave weight and immediacy to his words. He said, "I had a home on the 9th Ward. I'm from New Orleans and my caseworker is out of town. I need $2 more to rent a room." And then there was the one who asked for specific amounts, for 17 cents or 34 cents or 3 cents, because I imagined a dime or a nickel was too obvious. I never gave him money, but still he seemed always to be walking away even as he addressed me. And that I understood, because I could hardly imagine us knowing each other over coffee, even though from time to time he's ahead of me in line at the Angel Cafe, counting out exact change.
I was at his desk, on his computer, and searching for the nearest post office. I was going to drive all my things there in his van and send them all to another man's room in upstate New York. With fast blinking eyes watering, he handed me his keys. 3 days later, I had booked a flight back to San Francisco, rerouting all those boxes back to that same post office where we would pick them up in the same van, and for the time being, there would be no tears.
Indian roads, scarcely paved, where the potholes dip my stomach pits. New Year's Day, weed packed into a corn pipe, the scenery cut into frames. I am watching all of this happen. The anthems of our parents' generation have moved from their record players to our cassette tapes. Cat Stevens is taking his time miles from nowhere, but we are going 60 on a road paved for walking. A trailer underneath a pile of collapsed oak branches, a light from the dirty window, 2 fly fishermen side by side where the river pools, one casting and then the other. Pink streaks sketched into the dull white before the dawn. We pull over and take off our clothes and run naked through the snow toward the water. The others are older and seasoned. I alternate between laughter and tears as the sunlight moves through the sleeping brush and my skin touches the ice and water moving past.
My dad and I had chosen to let the family shop as we sat down and played chess over burrito and a beer in a market in Juarez, Mexico. I wasn't old enough to drink, even by Mexico's standards, but we squeezed limes into our bottles, and he praised me for being like him. He always told me how smart I was, but he never let me win a game. I recalled this moment as my sisters and I were helping my mother empty the closet after the divorce. Boxes of financial documents that no one could explain, bills from vacations that none of us had been on. We lowered boxes like bricks from the shelves and tried to make sense of their contents, tried to build explanations. In the end, I think we gave up. We joked about what was in the boxes we couldn't reach. For this moment and for the future, I felt culpable. I didn't want to be like him. I didn't want to be capable of filling boxes with burdens for other people to find.
One morning I went to sleep with a broken leg. I remember only that I dreamed of being abandoned, left without recourse. I still have dreams like that from time to time. While I dreamed, the doctors opened up my thigh and hammered a long metal rod into the marrow of my bone to keep it steady. I didn't wake up once. I hear that the sound is unbearable, a clinking, chipping noise like carving out rock with a chisel. Now, just before it rains, the metal tightens, and I like to tell people that getting hit by a car has granted me telepathy. But when I woke up that morning in the hospital, I couldn't remember me. It was as though I'd been birthed again, and I was thinking so hard about who I was that it made my head hurt. And still I couldn't remember. The nurse arrived and sedated me, and I woke up several hours later as though I'd always known precisely who I was. Thank you.